Thanks for joining us on this edition of Business Daily. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Lee-Jun. We have plenty on our plate this morning. In the second part of our youth unemployment report today, we look into some possible solutions to help lift the burden of many young job seekers. More people are turning to reusable goods to not only save the environment, but also to save a few bucks. Seoul and Washington has reached a deal that updates their civilian atomic energy accord and leaves the door open for Korea to expand its energy operation. The agreement comes after nearly 5 years of negotiations, and notably, the revised deal lifts a provision prohibiting Korea from enriching uranium and reprocessing spent fuel, allowing Seoul to conduct early experiments on pyroprocessing. That's a method viewed as an ideal way to recycle spent fuel, which also addresses Korea's used fuel storage space concerns. The deal, which would be valid for 20 years, comes into force after legislative approval in both countries. Seoul's fines on excess greenhouse gas emissions are far higher than those in neighboring China and Japan, which could weaken the competitiveness of manufacturing companies. That's the conclusion reached by the Federation of Korean Industries. The major business lobby group added Korea's penalty of some $30 per ton is about double that of China's, while Japanese firms based in Tokyo faces a fixed fine. FKI called on the government to revisit the issue as well as to ease its reduction goals. More than 100,000 Chinese tourists are expected to flock to Korea during their upcoming Labor Day holiday, which will stretch from April 30th to May 4th. According to Korea Tourism Organization, that's a 20% increase from the same holiday period last year. The tourism organization says it will work with the Ministry of Culture to improve the travel experience for Chinese tourists by holding welcoming events at Korea's main airports and handing out discount coupons for stores. The number of Chinese visitors has been on an upward trend, with the country seeing a 20% increase last month year on year. If you can reuse everyday items, it would help a lot in cutting down all the extra waste the country produces on a daily basis. So private companies and the government are promoting new ideas to go green and save money. Here's our Lee Ju-young with more.
At first glance, this paper towel may look like any other, like you use it once and throw it away. But actually, it stays intact even after it has been used multiple times and soaked in water.
I can wash it multiple times and reuse it. It's very hygienic and convenient.
As consumers become cost-conscious and environmental concerns mount, more people are turning to reusable goods, with existing disposable products coming with enhanced functions. According to Yuhan Kimberly, Korea's leading manufacturer of household sanitary goods, sales of its reusable paper towels grew 61% last year. Large retailers say it's two combined factors that make these goods more attractive.
When consumers purchase products, the economic factor plays a big role along with their concern for the environment. That's why more people prefer to use eco-friendly reusable products.
The Ministry of Environment says out of about 40 tons of disposable trash generated each year, Korea buries almost 60% of it. But with limited land, it can take tens to hundreds of years for these one-time products to decompose, depending on the type of material. More reasons to push for reusable goods. Small efforts are being made by Korea's coffee franchises as well. Starbucks Korea has been offering discounts to its customers who use eco-friendly cups since 2007. It recently celebrated its 10 millionth Tumblr user. Meanwhile, coffee chains and fast food franchises in the country have agreed to cut the amount of disposable products they use by 3% annually until 2020, following government guidelines. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
Well, the Korean government is on the hunt for the next great idea in lifestyle products, so it can help companies leap into the stratosphere of exports. Our Eunice Kim takes us to an exhibition that's part of that process.
A candy cane that pulls out to be an umbrella. A notebook that doubles as a pillow. And this clock?
You can tell the time of 200 countries with this one clock. So you can say that it's like 200 clocks in one.
Welcome to the first luxury daily goods fair, part of the Trade Ministry's efforts to ramp up support for exports, with a particular eye on small and medium-sized firms.
We're looking for the best the local lifestyle market has to offer, to unearth it, nurture it, and groom it for a global audience.
Nearly 1,400 products were submitted for consideration. About a third fell under the categories of kitchen appliances and watches or jewelry. There were also furniture, leisure, and sports devices from the more than 550 companies that took part. Of these, 30 to 40 will be selected to receive customized support from R&D, design, marketing to distribution, following evaluations from panels made up of visitors, consumer groups, and experts. The final decision is set to come next month. Judges will look for not only enterprising ideas, but also products that promote Korean culture and that are attractive to the Chinese market. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
Overqualified and underemployed, two words that might come to mind when thinking about Korea's youth unemployment situation. Even with shining diplomas, glimmering resumes, and a plethora of qualifications, young people between the ages of 15 to 29 are struggling to find jobs. Yesterday, we looked into the problems of youth unemployment here in Korea, and today, we're going to look into possible solutions. And for that, our Kwon So-ah joining us this morning. Good to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so yesterday we talked about the problems that lie behind youth unemployment here in Korea, and we found out that one of the major reasons is because a lot of young people are preferring to be hired at big companies than over small and mid-sized companies.
That's right, and that's why the government is putting extra emphasis on fostering those small and mid-sized companies, or SMEs, in order to create more jobs suitable for everyone in the age group. And that's not all.
Creating 500,000 jobs for young people by 2017 is one of the Park administration's goals.
스펙 쌓기에서 벗어나서 선취업, 후 진학과 일, 학습을 병행할 수 있는 기회가 확대되는 등 취업 여건이 크게 나아질 것입니다.
Since President Park Geun-hye's inauguration in 2013, there have definitely been a series of efforts to help young people find jobs. Measures include increasing high school employment, encouraging overseas work, supporting startups, and assisting small and mid-sized enterprises. The president also vowed to expand service jobs and stressed deregulation in sectors favored by young people, such as healthcare, education, finance, tourism, and software. This year, the total budget of ministries involved in projects dealing with youth employment stands at roughly $1.3 billion.
Well, looking at this, the government is putting a lot of money and efforts into trying to better the situation on youth unemployment, but I don't really think the numbers are reflecting all these efforts.
Right, and that's why I asked some students on the street what they think of this issue and what their biggest challenges are and how they think these should be eased.
The most difficult part is that companies are looking for all kinds of higher qualifications, and more students manage to meet those requirements, leading to fiercer competition.
It's a pity to see how students put their efforts into something they don't really want and think happiness depends on their grades. I don't want to work in Korea and go through this unemployment crisis.
I wish companies would hire a larger number of people with individuality.
And Yoon, I actually talked to another student who told me that he is preparing to launch his own startup. And he said that he wants more support from the government for people who try to open their own businesses. But of course, not everyone dares to take that alternative because of security issues, of course.
Right. I mean, startups it's the toughest part, right? And being hired on big companies. But I actually want to know, if there's such a great demand for big companies, then why can't can't they just hire more young people? I mean, do they just not have the capacity to do so?
That's a good question. And to answer that question, I talked to an expert.
Big companies are currently going through difficult times due to the slow growth in the global economy, especially as many of them rely on exports. In this situation, it makes no sense to force them to hire more employees.
All right, I guess then it's the small and mid-sized companies that need to try more to attract young people with talents.
That's correct. And that's why there are a number of organizations that focus on fostering SMEs. And one of them is the Small and Medium Business Corporation. And according to them, one of the most important solutions to the labor market mismatch is to not let highly educated people think of themselves as being a failure if they land a job at a smaller firm.
There are three main things we focus on to solve the youth unemployment problem. First, improving the image of SMEs, to let people know they are at a place where their dreams can be realized. Second, we give incentives to young workers who stay at small and mid-sized companies long term. Finally, we provide information on good companies using our database, since sometimes young people, even if they want to go to SMEs, just don't know which one to choose.
Well, Mr. Lee actually said that nowadays the perception people have about SMEs is getting better as many firms have been able to prove their capacity to grow, and this has been spreading by word of mouth. So naturally, competition at those firms is pretty high. But I was curious about what young people with higher education actually thought of SMEs themselves.
I think SMEs are okay.
I think so too.
If I say that I'm going to go to a small or mid-sized firm, I think my family would ask, why would you do that after graduating from a decent university?
I wouldn't mind whether it's a big or small company if it suits my abilities.
All right, so obviously all this won't be happening overnight, but it's something that the government, the society, and also companies need to work together on to find more jobs for young people, as there's that saying that best welfare is a job, right?
Exactly, yeah.
All right, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
All right, that wraps it up for now. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back here tomorrow at the same time, same place with business news that matters to you. Thanks for watching.